It's Friday, September 13, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. My name is Samuel Suknanan, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. GCOM hopes to hold general elections this year, says PNCR chairwoman. Court determined COI into MNCC was blinded, rescinds King's termination. GPL's management is not proud of blackout situation, says chairman. And PNCR accuses PPPC of abusing judicial system to obtain political power. We start tonight's news by telling you that police are investigating the murder of a 15-year-old boy, which occurred at Thursday, September 12, 2019, at about 1600 hours at Graham Street, Pleasance, East Coast, Demerara. Reports are that Derwil Wong, a student of Lot 42 Pleasance on the east coast of Demerara, and the suspect were in a yard when an argument ensued. Wong was found with stab wounds about his body. He was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The suspect is in custody assisting with investigations. Members of the government on Friday morning met with the chair and commissioners of the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, to seek clarification on key electoral matters. Following the meeting, Minister of Public Health and PNCR Chairwoman Valda Lawrence said from their discussions, the Commission has not yet set an elections timeline, although it has indicated plans to have elections this year. The details in this report.
After a meeting with the chairperson and commissioners of the Guyana Elections Commission, the top PNCR official told members of the media that the Commission has assured that no definitive date has yet been set for the holding of elections.
Today we were assured by the chair and commissioners that no timeline has set and that they are working to see whether they will be able to hold elections this year, given the timetable which they have and the statutory requirements which they will ensure that they abide by.
Minister Lawrence said that the visit by the governing side to the Elections Commission was to facilitate discussions on the electoral process and in what way the government can lend a hand. In the absence of parliamentary sittings, the minister said the government will examine all options to ensure the necessary funding is provided.
As our president has stated, is an important agenda item, and I'm quite certain that all of us would agree that if we are to get the results which we would like to have from GCOM and them carrying out their tasks, that if they need to have more finances, then of course we will have to ensure that we put that at their disposal.
Lawrence said the government is ready for elections, and despite the rantings of the opposition, their only interest is having a credible voters list, and this has been assured by the Commission during Friday's meeting.
But basically we were able also to put forward our case in terms of us ensuring that the list is credible, that persons be given the opportunity who were not allowed to register in the house-to-house registration, that during the claims period they will be given the opportunity to do so. We've also pressed upon GCOM to ensure that during that claims period that they take into consideration the number of persons who are still to be registered.
The PNCR chair noted that the Commission indicated that they are examining all options to ensure elections are held at the earliest time possible, but there will be no shortcuts to the process.
Indicate that they will not in any way be shortening any process as laid out in the statute, but that they're looking at the administrative aspect to see how they can work with that in terms of the deadlines and timelines.
GCOM has indicated to the governing side that all aspects of this process are being done in full compliance with the law, and the government has expressed their faith in the Commission. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Kingsley. Following a meeting with the high-ranking ministerial team from the coalition government, the Guyana Elections Commission forged ahead with its weekly meeting. But after that meeting, commissioners from both sides came out and spoke with members of the media while maintaining different views on a possible elections timeline. Both sides seem divided once again on what was actually discussed at the forum. Opposition-appointed Commissioner Says Gunraj remains firm on his stance that elections can be held before the end of this year.
The chairman reiterated at that meeting, pursuant to a specific inquiry from that delegation, the possible timeline of holding election, and the chairman reiterated at that meeting that we are trying our best to hold elections before the end of the year. I maintained and I continue to maintain that it is very possible to have elections long before the end of the year.
Meanwhile, in what has become the norm at these meetings, government-nominated Commissioner Vincent Alexander relayed that, in his view, credible elections cannot be held before the end of this year.
The chairman said something which clarity was sought on. And what the chairman said, which clarity was sought on, was we were working towards election, and she at that time had said, we're trying to have elections by December. She clarified that position to make it clear that what she was saying and what she meant is that we're trying to have elections as early as possible. We are trying to have elections as early as possible. For me, December is a tall order.
Alexander is maintaining that the various statutory timelines cannot be compromised and explained that the Commission will continue to have discussions on the way forward. Meanwhile, the People's National Congress Reform PNCR says the APNU plus AFC government has made significant strides in improving the local judicial system while restoring its independence. Addressing a weekly press conference at Congress Place today, Minister of State and PNCR Executive Don Hayston Williams said constitutional matters are being dealt with expeditiously.
Decisions of our courts are being honored. Gone are the days when the court ruled in favor of a citizen and the state refused to honor the court's decision, as was the practice under the lawless PPPC. Guyanese are assured that this coalition government respects the ruling of our courts and will ensure justice is done.
The statement is being made at a time when the coalition government has been accused of showing blatant disrespect for the Constitution of Ghana, particularly as it relates to the successful passage of a no-confidence motion for which they have challenged legally. The opposition People's Progressive Party Civic PPPC has maintained that the government's attempt to challenge the vote of no confidence speaks to the APNU plus AFC's disrespect for the law. Nevertheless, Minister Hayston Williams claims that the APNU plus AFC government has restored law and order and the independence of the judiciary, while the PPPC has abused its independence.
It is unacceptable for the PPP to be abusing the judicial system in its attempt to obtain political power. It is clear abuse of the judicial system to be returning to court for a decision on matters that the highest court, the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, has already ruled on. While the PNCR knows the megalomaniac behind the abuse of the judicial system, we wish to point out that his interest is not in serving the Guyanese people and urge him to manifest some modicum of decency and end the abuse of the judicial system.
The PNCR executive says the use of the judicial system to get power is not new and it wouldn't succeed. According to her, the people of Ghana are aware of the control that the PPPC allegedly exercised over the judiciary while they were in power, but claim times have changed. Police are investigating a fatal accident which occurred at about 12 hours 45 today at Pearl on the east bank of Demerara, which resulted in the death of Devon Hopkinson, also known as Wild Buck. Hopkinson, 33, of Lot 31 Railway Line, Kitty Georgetown, was riding a motorcycle at the time of the accident. Initial investigations have revealed that the lorry with trailer was proceeding along the western carriageway and was turning east into a lumber yard. At the same time, the driver of motorbike CD 7536, which was proceeding in the said direction, allegedly failed to stop and collided with the front of the truck. Hopkinson and his pillion rider were taken to the Diamond Diagnostic Center. Hopkinson was pronounced dead on arrival, while the pillion rider was treated and discharged. A breathalyzer test was conducted on the driver of the motor lorry. The test revealed a high blood alcohol content. The driver, a 36-year-old resident of Kurukuru, Suzaik Linden Highway, is currently in police custody assisting with the investigations. We'll take a short break. Do join us after these messages.
We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. Persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com.
Travelspan GT has low prices on JetBlue non-stop service starting April the 3rd. It's non-stop flights starting from as low as $320 one way. That's non-stop flights starting from as low as $320 one way. Fly on board a brand new Airbus A321 aircraft with Wi-Fi. It's non-stop and direct. Depart at 7:20 a.m. and arriving in Guyana 1:09 p.m. Call Travelspan GT in Georgetown at 227-1701. That's 227-1701. Or in Rose Hall, call 337-4287. And New Amsterdam at 333-6230. Call Travelspan today.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Globespan 24/7 News. The Supreme Court of Judicature today determined that the Commission of Inquiry, COI, which was established by the local government commission into the affairs at the Mayor and City Council, was unlawful and acted without due guidance in its recommendations and findings. In handing down her ruling, Justice Simone Morris Ramlal granted an order rescinding the decision to summarily dismiss King from his position as town clerk. In effect, the judge ruled that King remains on administrative leave. One of the recommendations put forward by the commission was to terminate the services of then town clerk Royston King earlier in 2019. Further, Justice Morris Ramlal determined that the findings and recommendations of the COI are in fact null and void. During the COI, testimonies arose that alleged King was guilty of abusing his office, recklessness, dishonesty, conspiracy, and misappropriation of funds. But King, through his attorneys Maxwell Edwards and Patrice Henry, later filed an order to the High Court seeking to challenge his dismissal, claiming that, among other things, the commission violated his right to hearing and that the commission had no right to cite him for gross misconduct in public office since the charge is linked to a criminal offense. King is seeking to have the local government commission reinstate him to his previous post immediately and or pay him all his superannuation benefits, inclusive of pension, gratuity payment in lieu of annual leave, up until he attains the age of retirement on January 29, 2020. He also claimed for costs and additional damages for his benefits while on administrative leave and compensation for public embarrassment and humiliation. King is asking for further interest to be calculated at 4% per annum for the date of filing of the application until the judgment, and a 6% per annum from the date of judgment up until full payment, excluding court costs, is made. King spoke with the press just after the ruling.
How do you feel today?
Well, I have to say that I'm very happy and that I've always exercised great faith in the judicial system and that today justice has been done and that I have been vindicated.
Meanwhile, hundreds of Guyanese are still not pleased with the service the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated GPL has been delivering for some time, and they never shy away from making this point in their conversations with each other or in their posts on social media. But the company has long complained that there are certain challenges that they are trying to overcome, but are working daily to address. This point was reinforced during another stakeholder engagement it hosted at Herdmanston Lodge. Chairman of the Board of Directors, Raw Lucas, by a slip of the tongue, described the company by a name Guyanese are all too familiar with and uses every time they experience a power outage.
The challenge for GPL is in the integrated network known as the Demerara-Berbice Interconnected System. The DBIS ranges from West Demerara to Molson Creek in Berbice and reaches south as far as Kururu and Timeri. GPL, a slip of the tongue is no fault of the man. GPL has 92% of its customer base in this geographic spread, which is served by 9 generating stations and 14 substations, 9 of which are in the Demerara area and 5 of which are in the Berbice area.
The GPL chairman noted that the cable that brings power from Vredenhoop to Kingston, Georgetown, was destroyed in early June and is yet to be repaired. GPL is currently experiencing a shortfall of 23 megawatts of power. According to Lucas, most of that power should be restored over the weekend. However, due to scheduled maintenance, the utility company will still be in a deficit of some 18 megawatts.
I wish to acknowledge that GPL's management is not proud of the situation in which its customers find themselves and is committed to rectifying and improving the situation very quickly. With a keen interest in and great concern of what has been happening to our customers, the board members wanted to know from GPL's management what factor or factors were driving the incessant outages. We were reminded or informed about 3 things from GPL's management that were influencing the power outages. Board members also learned about some contributing factors firsthand from staff members whom they met as they continued their tour of GPL facilities.
Lucas reported that from June 1 to August 1, 2019, there have been 772 blackouts for those who are connected to the Demerara and Berbice interconnected system. Guyana is poised for great economic and social development with the introduction of its newfound oil wealth, but many Guyanese do not have a clear understanding of what this means. A prominent businessman who has partnered with a few foreign companies to establish a local organization that caters for this sector gave an insight into how it is already creating opportunities for Guyana. Speaking at the 2nd anniversary of Guyana Shore Base Inc. Gisby at the Marriott Hotel on Thursday evening, Director Robin Munishwar said that Guyana's landscape is set to be totally transformed with oil. Munishwar stated that the company has come a long way since its inception and will continue to grow with Guyana in mind as the years go forward.
And this is an object lesson for us as Guyanese to know our strengths and know what we need to work with and know, who to team up with, reputable companies with the relevant experience. And also, it's a lesson also for foreign companies coming to work in Guyana to team up with relevant, reputable local companies to develop networks and alliances, etc. I've been working for 2 years with these guys and with the whole Gisby. It was a new company that was created, a new culture, and we started from with 3-4 employees, and it has grown. The growth has been exponential.
The director stressed that over 200 jobs were created for Guyanese and many more are soon to come.
I want to make this point very clearly. Those are 282 jobs. We're expanding, expansion mode, maybe another 100 jobs in another 6 months or so. A lot of indirect employment and the multiplied effect on the economy. But those jobs are jobs that are not gone to another country. This is very important part. Okay? And those are jobs and skills that have been created for this industry. If it wasn't for Guyana Shore Base, I have a strong feeling those jobs would not be in Guyana. And I sincerely believe that. And
following the discovery of oil in 2015 and with the announcement of plans to accelerate development to production, there was a clear need for a shore base in Ghana to support offshore operations. In late 2016, 4 companies with highly complementary skills and experience came together. Monishwars Limited, Pacific Rim Constructors, LED Offshore and Total Tech Oilfield Services, and formed Guyana Shore Base Incorporated GISB, a majority Guyanese company. Together, they have over 100 years of shore-based construction and management experience, many of which came from the oil and gas industry. The National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARI's Mangroves Department, has commenced works to enhance the foreshores with grown structures in Regions 2 at Anna Regina and Region 4 at Lebon Intention and Bedford-Wagatin. Groins are placed upright to the foreshore and act as a direct barrier to longshore drift, reducing wave energy before a wave reaches the shoreline. This structure will protect young and existing mangroves, aid in accretion of the foreshore, prevent overtopping, which cause flooding in the community, while preserving and protecting a unique ecosystem. In Anna Regina, a contract totaling $31 million was awarded to Ideal Engineering Services, Inc. to construct 200 million geotextile tube groin along the foreshore of Anna Regina Essequibo Coast. The works are scheduled to be completed in February 2020. The defects liability period is 5 months. For Lebon Intention and Bedford-Wagatin, 2 contracts, each valuing $32.1 million, were signed between the contractor and NARI in August of 2019. The contract is expected to complete works in February 2020. We'll now take a look at our bridge reports. And we'll take a short break now. Do stay with us for your regional and international news with Whitney Prasad.
JetBlue announces non-stop service from JFK to Guyana starting April 2nd. TravelSpan has low prices on JetBlue non-stop service. It's a non-stop flights starting from as low as $244 one-way and $491 round-trip. That's non-stop flights starting as low as $244 one-way and $491 round-trip. Fly on board a brand new Airbus A321 aircraft that is a brand new aircraft to Guyana with Wi-Fi. It's non-stop and direct. Depart at 11:55 p.m. and arriving in Guyana at 5:58 a.m. Call TravelSpan at 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chaguanas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
Thank you, Samuel. I am Whitney Prasad. Let's turn our attention now to regional and international news. Here are the headlines. 11 killed in a hospital fire in Brazil. 1,300 still missing in the Bahamas. A UK teen jailed in mass shooting plot. And the US court agrees to limit migrant asylum. Now for the news and details. In Belize says they are investigating the murder of a 13-year-old boy whose body was found stuffed in a culvert on a feeder road after his family had reported him missing 5 days ago. The motive for the murder has not yet been ascertained, but it is suspected that it may be drug-related. Two of three suspects, whom he knew well, are in detention. His brother was one of the many in the village who saw him leave with a longtime friend on a motorcycle. According to the police commissioner, Chester Williams, from what the investigation is showing, the young boy was killed by his own associates, including a 33-year-old man who was on the motorcycle and may have played a role in his murder. He said the other two suspects are 15-year-old and those are accused of killing are involved in drugs. A fire in Brazil has claimed the lives of 11 persons at a hospital in northern Rio de Janeiro, and authorities believe the fire may have been caused by a short circuit in a generator. A BBC report stated that patients, including those in the intensive care unit, were evacuated as thick smoke spread through the building last night. People on stretchers filled the pavements of the surrounding streets before being moved to a safe location. Patients were reportedly forced out of the hospital without their medical equipment to escape the deadly fire. A relative of one of the patients recounted the horrifying encounter and told reporters that her 77-year-old father had to leave his room without the neurostimulator, a device he is dependent on to stay alive. Firefighters reportedly arrived on the scene just before 1800 hours local time, and the blaze was under control 2 hours later. According to local media, an investigation is underway. And finally, for news in the region, emergency services in the Bahamas has reported to local media that the number of missing persons following Hurricane Dorian stands at 1,300. This number is down from some 2,500 listed missing earlier this week. The National Emergency Management Agency said the drop in numbers came after cross-referencing names of the missing with those in shelters. The police commissioner, Anthony Ferguson, said that the search for the victims has been a very slow process. Bahamian Prime Minister Hubert Minnis, during a televised address to the public, stated that the government was being transparent and would provide timely information on the loss of life as it becomes available. Dorian packaged sustained winds of 185 miles per hour when it made landfall at Elbow Cay on the Abaco on September 1st, battered the island and surrounding areas, killing some 50 people. And now for a look at news on the international scene. A 19-year-old from Gloucester who was found guilty of planning a mass shooting has been jailed for 16 years. Kyle Davies tried to buy a handgun and ammunition for £1,000 from a dealer on the dark web. The teen was found guilty of attempting to possess a Glock 17 pistol and ammunition with intent to endanger life, following a trial in July. According to a BBC report, Judge Paul Cook said Davies had the intention to endanger life in a shooting event. The report said that during the trial at Gloucester Crown Court, the jury heard the Columbine School massacre gunman and Norwegian extremist killer were poster boys for Davies. A package containing the weapon and ammunition Davies had ordered was intercepted in the USA, and officers in the UK were tipped off. Former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe will be buried in the country's national hero acre monument as a spat over his final resting place is settled. The family, in a statement, said that the government did not initially consult them on burial plans and had previously insisted the former president would be laid to rest in his hometown of Kutama. CNN reported that a memorial will be held on Saturday, and he will then be given a ceremonial send-off at the National Heroes Acre Monument on Sunday, followed by his funeral, which will be held as a private affair at a later undisclosed date. Mugabe's family had been at loggerheads with the current president of Zimbabwe over where Mugabe's funeral should take place. They wanted to bury him in his hometown, while the government insisted on the burial at the Hilltop Monument, where the country's national heroes are laid to rest. Thousands of Zimbabweans paid their last respects to the leader, who died in a Singaporean hospital last Friday. At least 5 people were carried away on stretchers following a stampede when thousands thronged the stadium to view Mugabe's body. Taiwanese ruling party has warned citizens against traveling to Hong Kong or mainland China, saying that the situation is severe after a Taiwanese businessman was detained following a visit to the protest-racked city. The 43-year-old disappeared after he crossed over the border from Hong Kong to the mainland Chinese city of Shenzhen on August 19. He was reported missing by a friend who was supposed to meet him at Jakarta airport 2 days later. Cheng said Lee had attended a protest in Hong Kong before crossing the border. On Wednesday, a spokesman for China's Taiwan Affairs Office confirmed that Lee was being questioned for criminal activities that could jeopardize China's national security. The spokesman did not elaborate on the specific accusation against Lee. Officials stressed that the situation inside Hong Kong is severe and travel should be reduced. They urge that if travel is a must, pay close attention to safety and keep friends and relatives informed of their whereabouts. The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the government to severely limit the ability of migrants to claim asylum. The policy bars people arriving at the U.S. southern border from seeking protection if they fail to do so in a country they pass through en route. Legal challenges continue, but the ruling means from now it can be enforced nationwide. The plan will affect tens of thousands of Central American migrants who travel north, often on foot, through Mexico. Mexico said on Thursday that it disagreed with the ruling. The Trump administration unveiled the new asylum policy in July, but it was almost immediately blocked from taking effect by a lower court ruling by a judge in San Francisco. Curbing migration levels has been a key goal of Donald Trump's presidency and forms a major part of his bid for re-election in 2020. He hailed the Supreme Court's decision as a major victory. And that's it for your regional and international news. I'm Whitney Prasad. Back to our studio.
Thank you, Whitney. And we'll now take a look at what's happening in sport with Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Samuel. Ghana's top golfers will tee off on Saturday when the Lusignan Golf Club hosts the Crown Eco Tournament from 12 hours. Crown Eco is a division of Crown Mining Supplies and was the location for the launch of this golf tourney. The competition will be contested in the 0 to 9, 10 to 18, and 20 to 28 flights, while there will also be prizes for the longest drive and nearest to pin. Lusignan Golf Club President Alim Hussein noted that the tournament is expected to attract a large field of golfers. Hussein expressed gratitude to the sponsors and said this tournament will be an exciting one, adding that the track is in fine shape. Among the players set to participate are Pur Prasad, Max Prasad, Hussein himself, Dr. Joanne Dio, Christine Sukram, Chanel London, George Bokan, and Vijay Dio. And turning now to CPL news. The St. Lucia Zouks had an impressive first victory in the 2019 Hero CPL bid after crushing the Jamaican Talawas at Sabina Park on Thursday evening. It was a night filled with drama, and it all began after Jamaica's Talawas star all-rounder Andre Russell was forced to quit play after being hit at the back of the head by a bouncer ball bowled by Hardersville Joan. Apart from that, star batsman and power hitter Chris Gale fell in the very first over without scoring for the evening. This seemingly shook the Talawas, who only amassed 170 runs at the end of the innings. Rakeem Cornwell and Andre Fletcher did the bulk of the work to propel the Zouks past the Talawas, 170 for 5, with 5 wickets and 20 balls to spare. Russell was taken to hospital and given the all clear after a scan. On the doctor's advice, he returned to the team hotel to rest. The Talawas are hopeful he will return to action after a few days off. Back on the field, the Zouks' run chase was a formality. After the flying start provided by their opening pair, who put on 111 in just 52 balls, despite a low wobble as O'Shane Thomas took 3 wickets in his final 9 balls. 9 sixes came in the 6-over power play, as loose bowling and dropped catches caused the Talawas dear. The Zouks were far enough ahead of the game that a superb 2-over spell from Thomas, picking up the wickets of the Grand Home, Darren Sami and Roland Cato, while conceding just 4 runs, came too late to affect the final result. The first Sabina Park fixture of the 2019 Hero CPL had got off to the most dramatic of starts. A scruffy beginning to the over from Obed McCoy was soon forgotten, when extra bounds had Chris Gayle nicking behind for a golden duck. And things got better still for McCoy in his second over when Chadwick Walton, on the back of a Hero CPL record, stand with Chris Gayle in the Tallawers' last game, also fell cheaply. He made just 8 before picking out Campbell at deep square leg. Perhaps understandably, the Tallawers' innings never really got going after Russell left the field on a stretcher, with just 38 coming from the final 6 overs. The upcoming fixtures are as follows. On Friday the 13th, Jamaica Tallawers versus the Trinbago Knight Riders at 8 p.m. at Sabina Park. And on Saturday 14, St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots versus the Guyana Amazon Warriors at 8 p.m. And internationally, the 2019 Hong Kong Tennis Open has been postponed after organizers claimed they would be unable to guarantee a smooth running of the tournament amid ongoing protests in the city. Hong Kong has been disrupted for almost 15 weeks by increasingly violent demonstrations, which were initially sparked by an extradition bill. The bill, which would have enabled suspects in Hong Kong to be extradited to mainland China, has now been withdrawn, but protests have continued. The tournament was due to take place between October 5 to 13 and was due to be held in Victoria Park, which has become the rallying point for many of Hong Kong's anti-government marches. Protesters have targeted transport to and from Hong Kong International Airport in recent weeks, with numerous flights cancelled over a 2-day period in early August. And because the competition, which was won last year by Ukraine's Diana Yastremska, attracts thousands of local fans and overseas travelers, the organizers made the decision to push back its start date. The HKTO's postponement is the second high-profile sporting event in Hong Kong to be affected by the civil unrest after the Hong Kong ASTC Sprint Triathlon Asian Cup and the Asian Aquathlon Championship was cancelled earlier in September. The announcement comes ahead of another weekend of protests, which started in June after the Hong Kong Parliament proposed the new extradition law. And that has brought us back to the end of sports. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before you go, here's a recap of our major headlines. GCOM hopes to hold general elections this year, says PNCR chairwoman. Court determines COI into MNCC was blinded, rescinds King's termination. GPL's management is not proud of blackout situation, says chairman, and PNCR accuses PPPC of abusing judicial system to obtain political power. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Signandan, the news and technical team. Until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.